Hi guys, welcome to Pro Tools Answers. So this video is hot on the heels of our favorite shortcuts that we use pretty much in every session for editing. I say hot on the heels, it was about 4 weeks ago. We get to stuff. So we wanted to do a video that talks about our favorite shortcuts in a context of mixing. And I think we've picked our favorite one each. Guys, is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to begin. Now, a shortcut that I use often is a combination of Control, Alt and Command. And this may have been so named the Power Claw by our very own Mr. Hagerman at some point in the past.
Guilty. Yes. long time ago.
Yeah. So whenever anybody says use the Power Claw, it's Control, Alt and Command all together, and then click on something. In this case, I'm going to click on one of these inactive plugins, and what it's going to do is reactivate all of the plugins across the entire mixer page. Now, I am going to throw in just one other shortcut, which is just Control and Command, and that deactivates the plugin. But adding the Alt, which is the do to all command, will stripe it across every similar insert. Now, what I try to do with my plugins is I'll try to use common plugins across the whole of the mixer page in certain insert slots, just like this Slate VTM here. And so that if I do need to deactivate all of the plugins all at once, I can just Power Claw all of them and it shuts them all down without having to manually shut them down one at a time. Now we can also use the Power Claw for activating automation, enabling automation on each of our plugins. Now we can have automation kind of turning on automatically as part of a Pro Tools preference, but my preference is to not have automation turn on automatically with Pro Tools, because I'm forgetful and I'll end up writing automation that I don't want to write by accident. So I can just easily enable automation by Power Claw, click, and then enable or disable. Power Claw's awesome. I love it. Well done, Andy.
Great shortcut.
I only named it.
Yeah, so for my shortcut that I use...
Can I jump in? Because there's a couple more Power Claws. So if you... Dave, show your session again. And so if you open up the 7-band EQ, okay, if you hold down Power Claw and you click the button right above the Safe button, what you will do is you will activate or deactivate all of the parameters at the same time. So that basically turns on the entire plugin or turns it off for automation.
Awesome, and we can see that with the little green lights below each of the plugin controls. It's a shame that that's not repeated on every third-party plugin, actually. That's a nice little indicator.
Great stuff. So for my favorite shortcut for mixing, one that I use a lot of the time, is the EQ band soloing. So I have a couple of drums here, and if I wanted to turn this little gain knob here, it's hard to hear what this frequency band is actually doing. So what I can do is press Shift and Control on a Mac and turn the frequency knob, and that will just solo that particular frequency band. So we can hear just what that frequency band is contributing to. And I love that little feature that can solo the EQ band in EQ3. That also works in Channel Strip, by the way. In Channel Strip, if you hold Control Shift and drag one of these little dots here, you do the same thing, EQ band soloing. And I love that.
You know what I love about that? I love about what it's not. Because what this is a replacement workflow is, it's specifically to replace that sweeping of the frequency, which drives me crazy for two reasons. First, when you're boosting those frequencies, the chances that you're going to clip on the output are pretty high, which is going to make it sound different anyways. Yeah. And the second thing is, and I don't know if this has happened to you, maybe I'm just not that bright to begin with, there's no maybe about it. But
That makes two of us.
If I'm sweeping the frequency for more than a minute and a half, I have completely lost sight of the sound that I'm going after. My ear has started to get used to a bad sound. And it just drives me crazy. And as soon as the solo band workflow came out, man, boy, did that change my workflow.
Yeah, it's great.
There's a whole bunch of shortcuts you can use in EQ plugins. We won't go into them now. We'll save that for another video. But
if you want to know about them, let us know in the comments below.
Absolutely, we can talk. Can we talk about shortcuts? Just try and stop us.
We can do this all day.
Maybe we should change name to the Shortcut Show or something. Andy, what's your favorite mixing shortcut?
Yeah, so I'm going to show one that I use a lot, and this is a Pro Tools Ultimate shortcut only. So I apologize to folks that don't use Pro Tools Ultimate, but I'll be honest, to me, this is worth the price of admission for Pro Tools Ultimate right on its own. One of the things that I've always liked about mixing on analog consoles was snapshot automation, the ability to kind of move your faders to the right area and then basically print that for whatever area that you have. And snapshot automation doesn't work exactly the same way in Pro Tools, but it actually kind of in a way works even better. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a ridiculously small amount of drums here. And I'm on loop playback. Let me hold on, solo that puppy. Now, the problem with writing automation to a small section, and this can be in post, it can be music, is that if you're in touch, every time it goes back to the beginning, it's gonna reset that value. If you're in write, any of the automation modes doesn't kind of work if you want to loop a selection, because as soon as it comes back to the beginning of the selection, the fader will jump back up and it'll start, basically reading again. So in this workflow, of all things, what makes this work is turning automation off. So what I'm going to do here is I've got automation off on all of these tracks, and I'm just going to go ahead and build my mix from the ground up. Perfect.
I love the little Phil Collins talkback track, by the way.
Hey, baby, you know how I roll. That's Sir Phil Collins to you. Okay, now let's say that this is a mix that I like. Now, the cool thing about this is I could stop playback. These faders are not going to jump. I could even move to another area of my session. The faders are not going to jump. Why? Because automation is off. Okay, but how can I write what I just did? It's real easy. And I use the shortcut all the time, but just so you can see what's going to go on. If you don't want to use a shortcut, I'm going to go to Edit, all the way down to Automation. And again, this is a Pro Tools Ultimate feature. Write to current means writing to currently visible automation. And the only currently visible automation at this point is volume. Write to all enabled will actually take a snapshot of my entire mixer and just write it. Okay, but right now I'm going to go to write to current, which is Command and the /. And just because I happen to be here, I'll go ahead and just click this here. And now what you're going to see is, if you take a look, now I have a little automation breakpoint right here. So now if I go over here and I'll go to something completely different. So I'll select these guys and I'll do a completely different mix. And I can punch basically that mix, which I don't think is going to win me any Grammys. But if I do that, Command and the /, boom, and now I've just written a new scene. And this basically allows me to write. And by the way, if I had lost my mind completely and I love this sound, but I wanted to paste it over here, well, because I'm still in off, I could take this, Command / and write that scene over here. So once I'm done, I just take all my tracks, put them into read. I don't think that's going to win me any Grammys at all. But this is, for me, a very quick way to get that rough mix that usually defines the entire song from that point on. And I'll just take each individual section. I'll just kind of go from start to the beginning and just move things. And I'll keep for the whole song, I'll keep my automation mode off and just move things so that everything sounds good. Punching usually by every verse or chorus or musical section. And then what I'll do is I'll go back to the beginning, put all my tracks into read, and I'm generally surprised at how good my mix tends to evolve just from this workflow, just kind of getting my head out of the whole writing automation kind of workflow and just do I like it? Great. Punch it, right? Just print that to whatever section you've got. And again, it's command and the / and I use this a lot.
Yeah, I love that workflow as well, and I use another technique that's very similar as well, which is using preview, which we can talk about in a different show. But the huge advantage here, if you switch back to your screen again, Andy, is that even the controls that Andy didn't touch got a little event marker or a breakpoint, as we call them. So even the controls that Andy didn't touch were anchored.
Actually not. Sorry. So yes. We have to be careful. So it depends. So if I'm taking a look...
we're talking about volumes right now because you're writing to enabled only, right?
Right. Yeah. So actually writing to all current. So this is writing to current. Writing to current, again, is writing to visible. And Andrew's 100% right. So if you take a look at this bottom track here, I didn't touch that, but it still wrote some anchors. He's 100% right, 0% wrong. But just to clarify, it didn't write, for example, if I take a look at my pan on the second track, it didn't write anything for pan because it was not a currently visible parameter. Exactly. If I wanted it to write something for that, then I would hold down Option, Command, and the /, which if you take a look in the menu is the same as write to all enabled. And I do that as well all the time. So for example, if I want to, do rough mixes and kind of crawl down my mix and do panning and do whatever, plugins, the whole 9 yards, whatever's all enabled, and then Option, Command, and the / and just basically, boom, basically anchors that section. That's a workflow that I can use a lot. You're 100% right. I do that a lot.
And write to all enabled is informed by whatever's active on your automation enable window.
Right, exactly. So that's another important. The devil's in the details with Pro Tools. So if you go to your automation window, and if you take a look over here, you're going to see everything here is automated. But if I wanted to specifically not, and I do this a lot of times my plugins, I tend not to mess with my plugins as much as I mess with other things. And especially if I'm doing a lot of composition with virtual instruments, which are plugins, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll specifically exclude this. And then I'll write to all enabled, knowing that I'm going to write to volume, send volume, pan, send pan, mute, send mutes, and my objects, which doesn't really matter for the purposes of most of my mixes for music, but a growing number. But anyways, you can choose what all enabled is by going into the automation window. 100% right.
Great shortcut. We are like world champions at this. We have 3 shortcuts, and will take us. How long is this show?
Right.
As Andy said, devil's in the details.
Yeah. So this is the thing: is you can read a PDF that has all the plugins, but very few resources show you how to use it. I'll tell you one of them. There's a great shortcut book by Chilitos. And it's been, I think, out of print for a while, but it's Pro Tools shortcuts. And it not only goes into the shortcuts, but it goes into a lot of scenarios where you would use those. So it's, I don't even remember what the title of the book is, but it is by a guy named Chilitos.
Well, I'll pick it up. I have it here, so I'll just get it. This is it.
Great. And is it still current? What year is it?
This is.
I love that green color. Can we
see.
charge
Yeah,
some?
it is.
Can we charge some advertising revenue?
I don't think it's very current. This is from 2011, so it's 10 years old.
But none of them are wrong. I mean, it's not like we changed shortcuts, but it's not many of them have been changed. But certainly it's a great resource.
There are a lot of new ones since then, but all of the old ones are still there.
And a great place to learn how to use them.
Other than us.
No, it's us.
okay.
Kidding me? Come on over.
Your pause was just a little bit too long.
No, it's a dramatic.
Traumatic or dramatic?
Trauma. I guess it's in the eye of the beholder. For me, it was dramatic. For you, it was traumatic.
And I think we'll leave it there. Thank you very much,
There you
Anders. Anders. Thank you, Anders.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andy.
You bet.
My name is Dave. This is Pro Tools Answers. Punch it.